is the place where real dialogue matters.
Make some noise for that sound, man.
It is time to take flight with Audio Airstrike.
What's up, everybody? This is Audio Airstrike. I'm your host, Everett Hall-McNeill. Thank you for joining us. Now, we have a special guest at this time. He is an entrepreneur. He's also the founder of the True King Movement. I pronounced that correctly?
Yep, you got it.
Got you. So without further ado, we have a good guest at this time that's going to be giving you guys some insight into his life and his growth and his progression. Mason Pastro is here with us. Thank you for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to do this.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely, man. I wanted to start off with just your humble beginnings and kind of where you started. We'll kind of go through the trials and tribulations that you went through and then taking it from there. You overcame a high level of depression to get to where you are. And I kind of want to start off with your upbringing and what were some of the triggers that kind of led to it becoming where you kind of knew this was like a heavy depression that you were going through and stuff of that nature, especially in this season we're in now. We're in November.
Yeah.
And we're near the holidays, so this does affect people on a greater level. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to kind of let you give your spiel about your upbringings and some of the triggers that you found.
Got it. So I wasn't born with any chemical imbalance. Like I know some people are born with clinical depression, lower levels of serotonin. It was really just the root cause of the depression was me searching in external things for happiness. Now, whether that was like drugs or validation from women, sex with women, money, experiences like travel. Really, the root cause of the depression was me just constantly searching for something outside of myself. And I'll get to that later about my inward journey. But as far as my upbringing, man, when I was 3, my parents divorced, and I was born in Reno, Nevada. And from there, I went to school in Nevada until like 2nd grade when my mom decided to move us to New Hampshire because my dad was heavy in the biker gangs there. He was like addicted to meth. It was kind of a shit show. So she moved us to New Hampshire, and life was good. I really can't complain. Like I lived in like a suburban town. It was like middle class, like not really rough upbringing in that sense. Obviously, my dad wasn't in the picture. I would visit him every summer, but that was, my upbringing, my childhood was pretty good. It wasn't until I graduated high school at the age of 18. That's when I started looking into entrepreneurship and started realizing, I don't want to work the 9 to 5. I don't want to be a slave to this system. I started waking up. I started feeling like really different and separate from my friends because I was like, why do people not realize that, we're just pretty much cogs in a wheel, like pretty much going through a conveyor belt, right? Like, all right, put them through the school system, put them through the work and whatnot.
It's a heavy rat race because you're basically working and especially nowadays, and not to cut you off, but when you said people don't realize it, some people are just used and programmed to the rat race. Like if you look at school, you go from school from 8 to 3 or 9 to 4, 5 days a week. You're off on weekends.
Yep.
Work, same schedule, 9 to 5, same schedule. So you're being trained from the time you're in school to the time that you get out of college. Standard wise, I'm not saying this is everybody, but to go to work, get a job, do the 9 to 5. If you get vacation, that's cool. And especially now, some of these jobs are not as loyal to their employees as they used to be. So they can let you go for any reason. There goes your benefits. There goes your health, dental, stuff of that nature. So that's some stuff that could trigger and lead somebody to a depression. You never know.
For sure. Yeah, man, that's a really good point with the programming because a lot of people are programmed. And like, I don't know what caused me to wake up and kind of realize like, oh shit, but I don't know. I just felt so separate from my friends. So I started looking at entrepreneurship and I don't know. I would say when I was like 16, I had some sort of spiritual awakening when I started like really questioning. It was more like an existential crisis. I was really questioning reality. Like, okay, what the hell actually is any of this shit? Am I really just supposed to work until I die and then retire? And then I started, getting into self-help, reading some books. The first book I read was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill when I was 18. And shit just started slowly manifesting for me. I bought an e-commerce course to run my first e-com business. I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but I was like, I'm going all in. It was the money I'd saved up working my summer job. I was working at a wedding catering company at the time. And of course, everyone at that job, a lot of them were like 30, 40-year-old men, like still living with their moms. So that wasn't good energy to be around. And I'm not trying to be judgmental towards other people, just people have different levels of consciousness and whatnot. And so that was that. So I got into that e-com business. I started that, and it was just a grind. I'm sure man, it's just a grind in the beginning. And I wasn't getting that good of results, but I remember that feeling of making the first sale online. It was like, holy shit, I just made money from my living room, and that was a game changer for me. That kind of flipped the switch for me. So from there, I just started working even harder. I remember my girlfriend coming, because she was living with me at the time. My girlfriend would come home from work and she'd be like, babe, why are you still working? I left for work this morning, you're working, and you're still working. And I started to neglect her, started to neglect my friends. I was just like all in. I was like willing to do whatever it took, dude, to be able to escape that fucking rat race, like you were saying. So that was that. And that business did okay. Not what I consider okay in my opinion nowadays, but for an 18-year-old, I think I came home with like $700 profit. The profit margins were horrible. It was like 15,000 revenue though, but the profit margins were absolutely horrible, which a lot of people who were in e-com watching this probably know that. And so that was that, dude. And then I was kind of lost. I was like, all right, I still want to be an entrepreneur. I started like looking into like doing digital marketing for chiropractors, like SEO, build a social media marketing agency, whatever. And I just started manifesting and like setting the intention. I wanted to move to Florida because one of my friends from New Hampshire had moved to Florida. And I didn't know how it was going to come about. And I don't know, a lot of your viewers, I assume, probably, believe in the law of attraction or on that same wavelength and know that like manifestation is a very real thing. So I set the intention. I was like, I want to move to Florida. And I was following this kid on Instagram who was doing drop shipping. He was doing e-commerce drop shipping. And he was living the dream life. He was living the life I wanted to live. He was 19 and I was 19 at this time. And he's like traveling Europe. He's crushing it, like doing a shit ton of sales, like making a lot of money, living the life I wanted at that time. So I started hitting him up on Instagram, asking for advice. And he's not like a big name or anything, guys. He wasn't like verified or a big name or anything. So I was able to build that relationship with him. Long story short, we became buddies, started playing video games together and whatnot. Turns out, surprise, he lives in Florida. And he coincidentally had a 2-bedroom apartment where he was the only one living there and had a room open. So I was like,
no,
dude,
that's crazy.
I'll do whatever it takes to be able to live with you. Like, I'll literally I'll work for you. I'll do the dishes. I'll do whatever. Like, I just needed to get out of New Hampshire, man, get out of that mindset because all my friends were not on the same wavelength as me, not on the same hustle. So that happened, and I got on the phone with him, and he agreed. So he flew up to New Hampshire from Florida. And he met my family in New Hampshire. We actually went up to Montreal to like party for some reason. I don't know. But then we drove all the way down my shitty 2000 Honda Civic, which I still have to this day. I've only had one car and I still have it. We drove that bitch all the way down from New Hampshire down to Florida. And that was an experience, man. That's when I knew like, okay, like this is really happening. This is going to be game changing for me because I knew that he was a successful entrepreneur. I knew he knew other entrepreneurs and I was like, let's fucking do this. So moved in with him. Had no plan. So at this point, I had like $3,000 to my name. Had no plan. I just knew I needed to like get out there and like meet more entrepreneurs. And I had sold my e-com store for like $2,000. So I had like 1,000 plus the 2,000. So $3,000 total in my bank account. And my plan was like to move in with him. And luckily, he let me live with him for like $300 a month, which is super cheap, dude, because his rent was like $1,600, and he was just doing me a solid. So I was like, I appreciate that, man. So when I got there, I started looking for jobs right away. I got a job selling direct TV at Walmart, which was horrible, dude, because they tried to like rope me into like some pyramid scheme of like, oh yeah, you can be a leader of the team someday, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I'm an entrepreneur at heart, right? I was like, I don't want to do this. So the funny thing is, I literally did that job for 2 days, dude. It was grueling. Like you would stand in Walmart for like 10 hours and just like pitch to like foot traffic, like people walking by. You'd just be like, hey, you want to sell, like try to sell direct TV, right? And I quit that job after 2 days, man, with no plan at all because I believed in manifestation. And I did have some sort of plan in my head. So I had met this guy named Devin Zander. Now, I don't know if a lot of your viewers like follow like digital marketers or e-commerce or anything, but there's this entrepreneur named Alex Becker, who he has like 500K YouTube subscribers. He's kind of like a Gary Vee, but more niched. And Devin was like associated with him and whatnot. So Devin was like this big head honcho that I wanted to meet that Lucas introduced me to. Now, Devin owned a software company. They made apps for Shopify, which is the e-commerce platform I ran my first business on. So this dude was like, all right, I got to get connected to this dude. I knew it. Like, this is one of the entrepreneurs I want to get connected with. Lucas introduced me to him. We got lunch together and whatnot. And at the time, like the stars all aligned. It's crazy. That's why I believe in manifestation. At the time, Devin was looking for a job. Well, not looking for a job. He's looking to fill a position for his company, right? He was asking Lucas. He was like, dude, please come work for me. Like, I got this space in the office. I'll pay you this, whatever. Lucas didn't want the job. And I pretty much swooped in. I was like, Dev, listen, if Lucas doesn't want the job, bro, I'll take the job. And I said all this to him after I quit the DirecTV and then instantly got the job with him. The rest, after that, man, like, I knew that I was well on my way because, like, at that point, I was working day in and day out with the CEO of a software company. And excuse, am I talking too long, dude? Do you want to like,
keep it going?
Time here? Okay, because I'm just flowing. Okay, so at that time, this has just tripped me out, like thinking about this whole process because I haven't really thought about because you kind of sometimes get lost in like the sauce and like forget where you came from. But this is like really humbling for me to tell the story. So. I became really good friends with Devin. Like, it was just me and him. It was me working directly with the CEO of a successful software company. And they were making like millions a year. And at the time, in my eyes, I was like, holy shit, like, this is my dream job. Devin actually taught e-commerce. He taught drop shipping. So similar to the course I bought, he taught that type of stuff. So I know that like tens of thousands of his students would have killed to be in his position. And he had made his first like million at the age of 22. He did like a promotion with Ty Lopez when he was 22. It was like one of the first e-com courses and like crushed it. So this dude, like in my eyes, was a big deal. He still is kind of a big deal. And I was working with him day in and day out, just doing dirty work, dude, like responding to his emails, like managing his Facebook group. And it started off, he was just paying me $1,000 a month, right? But I could cover rent because rent was $300 and then some food and gas and whatnot. And then eventually I ramped it up to $1,500 a month, and I was just doing that dirty work. I was literally just so hungry, willing to do whatever it took to like be around this guy and learn from him. So then another fucking curveball hits me, right? This whole journey has just been nuts. Another curveball hits me. Lucas is like, dude, listen, I can't really afford to pay rent here anymore. You can only pay $300. I'm gonna break this lease. So, and I was like, fuck, where the hell am I gonna live? I don't know anyone down here besides Devin and Lucas. And this was like after 2 months of me living in Florida. So I remember it was like 2 weeks before I was supposed to move out of Lucas's apartment. I went down to the pool, which I never go down to the pool in that apartment complex. And I was just chilling there. And I see this little dude like swimming in the pool like this. And you know me, I'm usually just a friendly guy. Sparked up a conversation. Turns out he's from Saudi Arabia. He was like a foreign exchange student going to college at University of Tampa. And him and his brother had just moved there. And they were looking for a roommate because they were sharing a room. They were looking for a roommate. And I'm like, dude, the universe always has my fucking back. And that same day, you know, I went and visited with them. They like made me coffee. And dude, Saudi Arabians, the hospitality is just insane. Like they were the nicest people ever. And it was just incredible. So long story short, I ended up moving in with them, only paying like $700 a month rent, which I could afford at that time because Devin was paying me more. And like shit just kept unfolding in front of me. I just kept trusting the universe. Like I was stuck in that anxiety of like, oh shit, where am I going to live? Maybe I have to get an Airbnb. Maybe I'm going to have to go back to New Hampshire, whatever. But then boom, opportunity presents itself for me to live with these guys. And I lived with them for, I want to say like 2 or 3 months. And then again, I get hit with this shit. And I'm working with Devin during this time. I get hit with this shit again where they're like, yeah, Mason, we don't really like the school system here. We're going to Orlando. So I was like, fuck, where the hell am I going to live, dude? Again, dude, like this story is crazy because I couch surfed. I lived with so many different people, Airbnbs and shit. So they're like, all right, we're going to Orlando. I'm like, fuck, where do I live? I'd made some friends at this time because I was living in Florida for like 4 or 5 months at this point. So I had a little small social circle because, dude, it was lonely as fuck at first. I knew no one here. I would just go out by myself to make friends because I was so lonely. Like I didn't have any friends. I had to build my life down here. So I had met this girl. Her name is Kerrigan. Great, sweet girl. And we were really close friends. I was like, listen, can I stay with you for a couple months? Is it cool with your mom? I don't know where the fuck I'm going to be living. And God bless her soul and her family. They let me stay with her. This was like during Hurricane Irma, dude. So that shit was crazy. But so I stayed with them for like 2 or 3 months. At this time, me and Devin are getting closer and closer. And we're like, at this point, he's not really just seeing me as like an employee. He's seeing like the value I could provide, because I worked my ass off to prove to him that like I can do shit more than just be an employee. Like, I'm a businessman. So at this point, I'm living with Kerrigan, you know, staying in her guest room. Her mom's kind of getting a little upset because I've been there for like 3 months. I'm not paying any rent. She's just doing it out of the, you know, kindness of her heart. She's like, all right, Mason, you got to find somewhere to live. And I was talking to Devin, and we came up with the idea to start our own company together, which, like, for me, that's like the best fucking case scenario, right? Because I started working with this guy for $1,000 a month, and now he wants to be my business partner, which is like huge shift, right? So I was like, fuck. Devin's like, let's start a e-commerce store design agency, because I'm already making the apps for Shopify, and I have all this entire customer base. Let's just design their stores for them. And I remember like the first sale I closed, man, I like had some guy Venmo me like $200 or something, and I was like, this is sick. I'm making money online,
You was
and
hooked.
I got $200, man, small win, whatever. But I was just excited because I was like, dude, I got this like industry titan behind me as my business partner. Like, this is gonna fucking blow up. And so back to my living situation, Kerrigan's mom's like, you got to get out here. So I was like, all right. I was making, you know, okay money. I was like, I'll get an Airbnb for a month or something. Because me and Devin were talking about building the business. He wanted to move out to Austin, Texas. And we brought another business partner on board too. His name was David. He's like a data scientist, great guy. Still love him to this day. So at this point, it's like December, dude. I moved out of Kerrigan's. I'm staying in Airbnb for a month, waiting for Devin to give me the okay. And we're all gonna move to fucking Texas. Me, Devin, and David. We're gonna move to Texas. We're gonna start the business there, form the LLC there, get a fucking office, get employees, like, and build this shit. And I was like so excited. So I was just amped up. And Airbnb ends. Dev moves out to Texas first. They both flew. Devin and David flew. This girl that I was hooking up with at the time, I was like, hey, you want to drive with me to Texas? And so I drove with her to Texas in my fucking shitty 2000 Honda Civic, dude, that I still drive. This baby's been all over the country. We moved to Texas, man, and I get a nice condo downtown, and this was like the first time I got a nice place that I actually could afford, and I was like, this is fucking dope. And I was doing all the sales calls, and we started crushing it, dude. This is when like my business started fucking taking off. I went from, you know, making this $700 living in my mom's basement when I was in New Hampshire to we were hitting like 30K months, 40K months, because I was just ripping sales calls every day back to back. I would wake up, I would do a sales call, do another sales call, do 8 sales calls in a row on the hour. And barely have time in between to eat dinner or like lunch or anything. And I was just grinding, dude. I still had that hunger. I was so fucking hungry. But I talk about this and like talking about it's like exciting, right? And your viewers might be getting excited. But what I don't share, which I'm going to share now, which most people don't share, is the shit that was going on with like my mental health and shit behind the scenes during this. Because I'm making the most money I'd ever made. I'm getting like my ego is fucking skyrocketing because I'm like fucking flexing on my old friends. I'm like, fuck you guys. You guys never believed in me. I'm like showing my family like, see, told you, proved you wrong. I'm flexing on my ex-girlfriend and her family who never believed in me, and just like getting a huge ego. And dude, I had to like so there's a substance that's called kratom. I don't know if you've heard of it, but I had to drink that shit like every day. It's pretty much like an opiate / stimulant. And I would drink that every single day just to get through the sales calls. Like I was working so hard that I started to have to integrate substances to be able to work because my energy was just drained from doing so many fucking sales calls, man. So
wow.
That's when the depression really started getting bad because I just moved to Texas. I had no friends in Texas besides me and my 2 business partners. And mind you, during this time, I would be at home ripping sales calls while Devin and David were doing, I don't even know what they were doing, dude. They were usually at Devin's house drinking because, you know, Devin struggled with alcohol his entire life. He's almost borderline alcoholic. I don't want to like, you know, accuse him of anything, but he has talked about that publicly, so that's not any new news. But so basically it would be me at home grinding my ass off, you know, struggling, lonely. I don't have anyone Devin and David like going to Topgolf, spending the business money, like using fucking the business card. And I know I sound a little angry saying this because at the time, like it pissed me off, but like we're all good now. But like they would be using the money that I was grinding my ass off to make, like doing the sales calls, to like fuck around at bars and Topgolf and shit during the day while I was working. So that's when the resentment started, and I'll get to this later. But that whole thing happens, and Devin actually ended up depressed during this time too, man, because he missed his family back in Florida, and David was depressed because he'd quit his job to do this. So all three of us, like, you know, we're all kind of going through this shit because we're trying to build this business, but we're all kind of like lonely. We don't have anyone there. We don't really know what we're fucking doing in terms of this business. And ultimately, Devin's like, dude, I'm moving back to Florida. I'm like, holy fuck, dude, this journey is just crazy. Like, I'm moving from New Hampshire to Florida, to several different places in Florida, different houses, now to Texas, now back to Florida. And I was like, all right, man. And funny thing is, a girl I was hooking up with at the time agreed with me to drive from Texas back to Florida. Completely
she
off
a real
topic.
one.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, it's funny because the girl I drove from Florida to Texas with, we stopped in New Orleans as a halfway point at like this Airbnb. And then the girl I drove from Texas to Florida with, I took her to the same Airbnb in New Orleans.
That's funny. That's too funny, man.
I know, man. It's just weird. Like, it was just a weird repeating pattern. So anyways, man, so we get back to Florida, and we're like, all right, we're going to start an office in Florida, because we never really started the office in Texas because, like I said, we're all depressed, like confused. We don't know what the fuck's going on. We get back to Florida, and we actually start an office this time, and we actually get physical employees, because remember how I said we were crushing it, making like 30, 40K months? Well,
Right.
Our CEO, David, did not know how to, like, he's not an entrepreneur. He came from like data science, like being a scientist. So we're making like 30, 40K revenue. And this is what no one fucking talks about. This is why I like get pissed off when people are like, look how much money I made in my store, blah, blah, blah. Revenue, dude. Our overhead expenses from all the virtual employees we had were like 25K. So we're taking home like $5,000 profit a month. You know what I'm saying? Which is like, that's like a standard job in America, right? Revenue, we're fucking crushing it, making multiple six figures. Profit, we're doing ass because David doesn't know what to. I don't want to blame him, man, but he just wasn't the best CEO. He just didn't know how to be. It's not really his fault. He just simply didn't know how to be. So at this point, we're like, all right, we got to scrap all these virtual employees. We got to get an actual physical office, get some actual employees, and build a legitimate business instead of like having like random people in Pakistan were paying $3 an hour, right? So this was when things, because like I said, my resentment started building towards Devin and David back when, you know, I was working my ass off and they're using the money to go out drinking and shit. We get back to Florida, dude, and it's pretty much the same story. Me and David took over the office. We hired 3 physical employees. I'm 21 years old at this time. I don't know how to fucking manage employees, dude. I don't know how to do that shit.
You've been solo dolo the whole time up until this point.
Yeah, dude. And the weird thing is all my employees are older than me too. So I feel like they kind of don't respect me in that sense because they're like, oh, this is just a young, dumb kid. And that's a recurring theme, which I'll get to, like being the young one. Because I was the youngest one, man. You know, Devin's like 28 now. David's 30. So I was always kind of the one doing the dirty work, you know, in that business. That's why I was doing the sales calls, because I was trying to prove myself because I was young and didn't have the experience like they did. So we start up the company in Florida. We get the physical employees. Me and David are managing it. Devin's in Greece at this time, and shit starts bubbling up in the office. Like, I'm obviously holding resentment, so I'm like purposely kind of sabotaging this shit because I'm like, you know what, fuck you, Devin. You're not even here working, and I'm working my ass off, and like
right, because that resentment was building.
Yeah, and we're not even like the communication's all fucked up. I start kind of almost conspiring with my employees to like take them with me to do my own thing because I'm like pissed off at my partners. Devin gets back from Greece and shit just like, you know, blows up. Like all that resentment that was bubbling up, like it blows up. And something I forgot to mention is when we made the transition to Florida, we planned to have our company, which was Entrecom, me, Devin, and David's company called Entrecom. That was the store design company. Devin had this separate company, which I used to be an employee for, which is a software company. We're going to have Devin's software company acquire Entrecom so we could use these assets, like the whole customer base and everything. And the split was going to be I get 25%, David gets 25%, and then Smart Apps, the software company, gets 50%. And that was the plan. But one day I walk in the office, they all confront me. They sit me down. They're like, Mason, we want to reduce your equity to like 20%. And for some reason that hit me like emotionally, dude. Like only a 5% decrease, but like I was thinking like, fuck you guys. You know, I worked my ass off. I pretty much did everything. Obviously they did some work, but I pretty much did everything. And you want to give David more equity. And like I was just pissed off, dude. I was so pissed off. And that combined with like the shit bubbling up in the office and Devin being out of town, it just exploded, dude. And I was like, you know what? Fuck this. Like, either you guys are going to leave or I'm leaving. We're figuring something out. And it ended up they left and I came on as the sole CEO. We closed down that office, fired all the employees. And this was probably my like the darkest time, dude. This was probably the fucking roughest time because I was living on Devin's couch at the time. I didn't have a house. I was staying at Airbnbs, sleeping on couches and shit because all the money we're making, we're paying our employees, reinvesting into the business. And I'm broke as fuck at this time. I'm just like hustling my ass off. And so they left the company and the business almost went bankrupt at that point because we paid for all of our employees and we had some clients we were dealing with. But something happened when Devin and David left the company. All of the clients got sketched out and wanted refunds immediately. They're like, listen, we don't want to work with this company anymore. Like, it's falling apart. Give us a refund. So I thought I was making a good deal. I was like, okay, yeah, you guys want to leave? I'm going to have like $30K in the bank because that's what was in our biz bank. Once Devin and David leave, all the clients asked for refunds. And, dude, we almost went bankrupt. And I remember at this time I was fucking living in an Airbnb, one I got for just a month. I had no idea like what the fuck my next move was. I had maybe like $3,000 in my personal bank account. Like it's crazy. After all is said and done, I still had like the same amount of money in my bank account. You know what I'm saying? After
and
like coming down to
that just made you frustrated even more that you put on all that work just to get the same amount of money when you were struggling back, and that's all you started. Like you started with it and you ended with it that way.
Yes.
That is crazy. So I'm kind of curious because what I'm hearing based on your personality, you're a go-getter, you'll go out and get it. And I'm just going based off your mentality at the time. I'm going to eventually we're going to get to how you're thinking now. But back at that time, you had been running the ground so hard and basically building the infrastructure that you kind of developed this chip on your shoulder almost. Because that's normal. That's going to happen. If you are putting in that much work, being that tired to the point you have to lean on, different medical things or whatever to kind of get through, taking energy drinks or whatever, and doing whatever you got to do to make sure that the ends justify the means, and then to do that and to still not feel appreciated, especially when they're asking for a decrease in your equity and stuff like that.
Yep.
Little triggers like that is going to cause somebody not only to feel neglected, but it's going to cause somebody to be like, damn, I did all this work, I don't feel appreciated. Like, okay. Like, and that almost is like a crack in the armor. Like, you've been running hard, you've been in a leadership role, and to feel like you're not appreciated is definitely could be a opening spot or a crack to allow that depression and those depressive thoughts to come in. And so I know you had to have felt like all those emotions, anxiety throughout the whole thing, depression throughout the whole thing. And especially when it got to the point where, you guys are going bankrupt for a bunch of different things that built up over time. Did you beat yourself up?
Dude, I just honestly, I use that as fuel because at this time I was used to using pain and like that type of shit as fuel because when I first started my first business, it was like, fuck you, let me prove my friends wrong in high school. At this time, it was like, fuck you, let me prove my ex-business partners wrong, that I'm not just a kid, that I can run this company on my own and that type of shit. So it was just, oh, man. So at this time, I'm living in the Airbnb, right? And business is almost going bankrupt. And I remember just sitting there. Dude, I remember actually sitting in the old office the few days before we left. We brought everything out. I remember sitting there looking at my PayPal balance, and it was $0. And I remember like sitting there crying, like, how the fuck did I get to this point? Like, I thought that I had everything was going great. I remember like right clicking, pressing inspect element and like writing in $1 million just to just to make myself feel better. I was like, you know what? I'll get there someday. And music at that time, dude, just got me through. The song "Easy" by G-Eazy,
Right.
fucking great song, dude. So I'm living my Airbnb, and I'm just like, you know what? I've made it this far. I've done all this shit. There's no way I'm gonna give up now. Like I'm all the way in. There's no I can't even get a job anyways. I dropped out of college. I forgot to mention that. I only went to one business class in college. So I was like, all right. So the universe had always supported me, man. Remember, so how I moved in with Lucas, how I lived with the Saudi Arabians, how like I always found a place to live, like I always felt supported. So I was like, all right, let me figure this out. Luckily, I was able to close like 2 clients, so I got some money in the business bank account and kept shit above water. I was able to pay for like basic needs and expenses, and keep the business alive. I hit up one of my buddies who I'd met along this entire journey, and I was like, dude, listen, all my business partners fucked me. You want to move down to Florida and build this business with me? He was in college at the time. He dropped out, his crazy ass, and he moved down, man. And I remember the first night we got some Adderall and we snorted it off the table because I thought that shit was normal. I'm going to get into that later. But I thought that shit was normal to just be like popping Adderall and shit like that to get work done, right? Which, you know, some people are prescribed it, whatever. But like snorting it, obviously you're doing it to get high. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
at that time, I had my new business partner, and he's my age, and he's still to this day. His name's Austin. He's a fucking man. We're still really great friends. He was the best business partner I ever had, man. Like I finally met someone who matched my drive, and we just started growing shit. And we stayed at a couple Airbnbs until we got a nice apartment downtown in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I'm at now. And we started grinding, and we're growing it. And we brought one of his buddies on board to be one of our full-time employees. So I had like gone from 20 virtual assistants to 3 physical employees with 3 business partners to just one other business partner, 1 full-time employee, and maybe a few freelance graphic designers and shit here and there. And it was me, my business partner, and our employee, and another roommate of mine. We're all living in a 2-bedroom apartment at this time, doubling up. And this is recent. This is like last year, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm the CEO now. Let me learn what it's like to actually be the CEO. Let me grow this thing. And I kept it afloat, man. I kept it afloat like 10K months, sometimes 15, sometimes 5, fluctuate up in there. But it was enough for me to pay myself, pay my employee, and pay my business partner, and just kind of chill. And at that point, I reached complacency because I was like, you know what? I have a nice apartment. I still don't have my Lamborghini, which I'm still working on. But that's for me personally. That's not because I want to like flash or anything. It's just like I think that's a sick car. Different story. But this is when the addiction in Adderall and cocaine and fucking kratom and weed and depression. This is when shit got really bad, dude. Because at this point, you know, I pretty much had a 6-figure company, and since I was a CEO, I could actually pay myself this money now. So I'm chilling. I got complacent. I didn't know where to go from here. I never grew the company because I realized I wasn't passionate about that company. Like I didn't care about like designing people's Shopify stores, and most of our clients didn't get good results, which made me feel like a shitty person. I almost felt like I was kind of lying to these clients, saying like, "Hey, I'm gonna help you build this successful online business," and they wouldn't get results and make me feel shitty. That's when my self-esteem started dwindling. That's when I would escape into, you know, getting drunk on the weekdays and doing coke on the weekends with my business buddies and all sorts of shit, man. I justified it in my mind as like, oh, I'm young, because that's what I kept telling people, like, hey, I think I'm struggling. People are like, oh, no, you're young. You're supposed to be doing that type of stuff, blah, blah, blah. But like I knew deep down I had so much more potential to build a fucking successful business, but I was so complacent. And my business partner and my employees saw this. They're like, dude, like, you're not the leader you used to be. Like, you're just getting fucked up all the time. You're hooking up with random Tinder girls that you don't even care about. You're not the leader you used to be. And this is when I hit a low point, dude. As if I hadn't already hit enough low points already, right? But this is when I hit the real low point, dude, because I was popping Adderall like every day, like trying to, because I was so beaten down at this fucking point, dude, after being burned by my business partners, after hustling for 3 years and still not making like the million that I wanted to make, that I'm still working towards right now. And this is when I really had to start using substances to get work done, like fucking Adderall, kratom, whatever, just to get me through the fucking day. And I realized, like, I was just escaping. escaping from this underlying sadness. Like whether I was escaping in my work or partying with random girls, I was just escaping. I did not want to face the fact that I wasn't living up to my true potential and that I was fucking just complacent and like not really doing shit. I justified my mind as like I was partying, but like I knew that when I started this journey, like I started to like see how good I could really fucking get. And I knew I got complacent. It's almost like, I don't know if you watch boxing, but it was almost like I was like Tyson Fury. I had won the fucking all the belts, right? And I got super depressed and went into depression, gained like a shit ton of weight, even though I didn't gain weight. But just that, I love that guy, by the way. But dude, I remember calling my mom and just like literally crying. This is the day I had my breakdown. And I was like, Mom, I need fucking help. Like, I keep taking Adderall all the time. I'm doing coke on the weekends. I'm getting drunk on a weekday. I don't even know who I am anymore. I'm not building the business I care about. I don't give a shit about this money. I don't give a shit about these girls. Like, I just felt so fucking empty, dude. The more money I try to make, the more girls I try to have sex with or whatever, the more drugs I did, the more I just felt so empty. And I just felt like I didn't even know who the fuck I was anymore. It was like I was like caught in a blizzard and I couldn't see my way out. And like my brain was so foggy from sleeping in and like all the drugs and shit. And I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. And it was sad for me to see like how the fuck did I end up to that spot, because I used to have so much drive and shit. I used to have motivation. I remember saying to my business partner, like, dude, I don't have any more motivation. And they pretty much, I don't want to say they gave up on me, but I kind of gave them permission to give up on me, because I was like, listen, guys, I got to take some time. Obviously, like, I need to fucking heal something. I can't grow this business. I can't run this business right now. Like, my mental health is fucked right now. And they started working on their own projects. I'm really happy. My ex-business partner now has like $1 million e-commerce store, which I'm fucking so happy for him. But at this time, dude, this is like recent. This is really recent. Like 4 months ago. We split off, did our thing. And I went back to New Hampshire for the summer. And because my lease ended in Florida with my roommates, I went back to New Hampshire for the summer because I was like, I need to do some soul searching, dude. Because like I know I want to obviously make money and like see what my full potential is, but I want it to be like the right kind of money. I don't want to feel like I'm doing people dirty. I don't want to feel like I'm like putting my nose to a grindstone. I want it to feel like it's like I'm fucking changing people's lives, which I'm going to get to because that's what I'm doing now. But I went back to New Hampshire, man, and this is like, I say I hit a low point, but I was still this is probably rock bottom, dude. I know it was rock bottom because like I'd wake up, I'd fucking sleep in, wake up at like maybe like 12 p.m., 1 p.m. at my mom's house. And I'd like go in her cabinets and just look for any drugs I could get, like some Perkies, fucking take all of them. I remember I found an old bottle of codeine, drank all of that shit, found her stash of Oxycontin and like started taking that shit. And I was really at a fucking low point, and I was kind of like in that mentality of like, what's the point? Why should I grow a business? Why should I, want to have sex with more girls? Why should I want to do any of this if like I still feel empty inside?
Can I put this little? I'll put this little tidbit in. I heard you talk, and I wanted to kind of get this out there. And I wanted to kind of pick your brain on it, hearing you talk. One of the things that I noticed earlier, what you were saying with your story, and it's a powerful story already. We haven't got done yet. One of the things that I noticed is that you said you always had a chip on your shoulder and you were always doing it to prove somebody wrong.
Yeah.
But back then you was never doing it for yourself. You was always, it was always, I'm doing it to prove this person wrong, to shut this person up. And it's almost like you wanted that gratification from them still. And when you didn't get it, it just cracked at your pride more. It just cracked at your ego more. It just cracked that. It just allowed kind of like an entryway into depression.
Yes.
So that's something, when you said that earlier, like a few minutes ago, I was like, that stuck with me, because a lot of people get caught up in, instead of doing it for the love of it and doing it for a big calling, they get stuck about doing stuff to prove other people wrong. These people, there are people in life that are never going to give you the credit that you deserve. They're never going to value you. So why are you wasting your time, your valuable minutes, hours, even down to seconds, doing all this stuff to get their approval when, man, this is your life. Take it for what it is and make it better. You know what I'm saying? So that's just something that stuck with me, because when you said that, I was like, okay, when he was at that age, I could see why, because especially in your early 20s, your early 20s, you trying to impress everybody. You may not say it. You may not you may not put it out there, but through actions it's seen. And through reactions it's seen. So that's one of the, when you said that earlier and then what that led into, I could see why you had kind of like that crashing moment, because people weren't giving you the credit that you deserve and you felt unappreciated. So that was just a little tidbit.
Yeah. Dude, I'm so glad that you pointed that out, because I feel like, at least right now, and we're going to get to like where I'm at now, I feel like I'm in the exact opposite spot where like I finally know what I want to do. And like for me, because I remember saying to my business partner, because they saw me like, spiraling downward, and I was like, guys, I just need to take some time to like figure out what the fuck I want. Not what I want, not what I think other people think is cool, or what my family will like think is cool, or what random people on Instagram will think is cool. I remember saying this, like, I need to take time. And that's why I went back to New Hampshire. But my addiction and depression, that shit was like at its lowest then, because I had like gone from this dude who had like fucking built up this company, like hit it to like 40K, like had these employees, had all this like money I thought I was going to make, to just like, now I'm fucking back in my mom's house, like scrounging the cabinets for like Percocets and shit. Dude, my confidence and my self-esteem was at the lowest point it ever been there. And I remember talking to my old roommate, who was like a really close friend of mine. Still love him. We're still really good friends. And I was talking to him on the phone. It was like the day I took all the Perkies. And he was like, dude, you need to like get the fuck out of there. Like, you should come down to Florida and just hang out with me for a week or something, because it's not good for you to be at your mom's house. Because I would just sit there all day, dude. A lot of my old friends I didn't want to hang out with because they're just like shitty energy. And also I was kind of embarrassed to be like, hey, look at, I was doing good. Now I'm in a fucking horrible place. And I was, dude. I literally, my only goal when I would wake up at my mom's house that summer, and this is literally like 5 months ago, was to just not feel that fucking empty, deep sadness that I felt. And I was willing to do whatever it took to like not feel that. So I was like, dude, you know what? You're right. I bought a plane ticket down to Florida, and I stayed with him and his girlfriend back at our old apartment complex, because he met her at our apartment complex that we lived in. And I stayed with them for like 2 weeks. And just being in the sunshine, man, and being around friends and being back in the city and not in the suburbs where there's nothing to do, being back in the city. And I just started feeling fucking better. I started feeling a lot better. And I was like, okay, I'm going to build another business. I'm going to get my shit together. I'm going to do something. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I'm going to do something. I had a decent sum of money saved up from, the company after I closed it down and everything. I was like, I'm just chilling right now with this sum of money until I figure out and do some inner work and figure out what the fuck I want and what I should do next, what my next step was. So I didn't even plan to stay down here. I was going to go back to New Hampshire because like I was in a rough spot, but I started feeling better while I was down here. I was like, I'm staying down here. So I signed a lease, and this is the apartment I'm in now. And a studio apartment, no roommates or anything, because I was like, dude, I'm going to fucking force myself to be alone, sit there, meditate daily, figure out like what the fuck I want. You know what I'm saying? Right. So things started getting better, man. I had hope. I was like, all right, you know what? Maybe I can pull myself out of this dark place. I'll start another business. Shit will go good. But addictions, that's like a never ending loop. That's hard to fucking quit. Luckily I was able to cut out Adderall and like Coke for the most part. Coke was like a very occasional thing at this point. But I was still like vaping and like doing kratom every day, and still escaping, but slowly peeling back the layers. And I was fucking sick of that shit, dude, because I was addicted to kratom and vaping and shit for like 2 years, and Adderall on and off. So I reached out for help. I posted in one of the entrepreneur communities that I'm on in Facebook, and I said, why is addiction not talked about enough in this community? Like, I know that because all my business buddies that I know, especially being an entrepreneur, it's super stressful. All of them have addictions, dude. I mean, majority of people do, whether it's like porn, food, whatever it is, all of them have addictions. Majority of them, it was like Coke and like serious shit. So I just posted that, and I was like, I need fucking help. I want to get rid of this shit for good. I'm sick of this. Like, I saw how low it took me at my mom's house in New Hampshire. I was like, I'm fucking sick of this. That's when my spiritual mentor popped out of nowhere. Universe manifests again. Turns out he lives in Tampa. I went to go meet him the next day, literally the next day, on some random internet Facebook forum. And he told me his story. He was addicted to cocaine, gambling, validation from girls, all of this shit. He had the mansion, had the Ferrari, had all this that he thought would make him happy, and he was still empty. And I really fucking related to that because I was like, I had the business. I was hooking up with all these girls. I thought it would make me happy, but I was still empty. And he guided me out of my addiction, dude. He guided me out of my addiction. And that's when I was like, all right, sober October, let's do it. Went 30 days substance free, still substance free to this day. And now we're getting back. The timeline is fast forwarding to present day. So this is what I'm excited to talk about. So I finally fucking cleared out all this shit, dude. All the negative past, like anger towards my business partners, all the addictions, everything, cleared it all out. And fast forward to present day. Now I literally, I won't even allow myself to drink coffee now. Like I'll wake up, I'll hit the gym right away. I'll come back, I'll meditate for 45 minutes to an hour, feel fucking amazing. I didn't even think it was possible to feel this amazing meditating. I'll have a green drink, which I'm drinking right now. And, dude, I just feel fucking amazing. And what it allowed me to do, getting rid of all those substances and all that negative energy, is clear my fucking mind and realize like what I actually want, not what I think would look cool in front of other people, what I actually want. And overcoming all this addiction and depression and all this sadness and shit, especially in the entrepreneur space, I was like, I want to help guys that were where I was literally a month and a half ago to get to where I am now, feeling fucking amazing just from meditating. Like I'll tell you, man, since I've been meditating consistently for like 30 days straight, I'll hit points in my meditation where I reach complete bliss that it's like, I can't even believe it's possible to feel this fucking amazing at like with no substances. Like it's fucking incredible. And I want as many guys, especially entrepreneurs who are struggling with that, to feel this fucking good, like to take care of themselves, to focus on what they want, not be addicted to validation and all of that shit. So that's when I founded the True Kings movement, which is about men who have it all: health, wealth, and the most important of all, happiness, because that's the one I fucking didn't have. And I created this Facebook group, just a private group where guys can come forward and talk about the shit they're going through, the real life shit, like the addictions, the depression. Because the thing is, in my space, in the entrepreneur, like the digital entrepreneur community, you almost kind of have to fake this fucking life that you're living. You're like, look, I'm driving this nice car, I'm living in this nice apartment, because it's going to attract people. Say it's going to make you look like you know what you're talking about, right? Because you're doing all these things. But really what it does, it fucks with your psyche, because you're like presenting yourself to be this way, where behind the scenes you're completely fucked up. Like I remember like selling my clients the dream life of like, you can live this dream life, have financial freedom, which I did have at that point. But I would then just go get high and like numb myself because I was so fucking empty. So I felt like I was not speaking my truth, like I was lying to these people. Like I was selling them a dream of financial freedom, almost like it'd bring them ultimate fulfillment and happiness, when I knew deep down myself that that wasn't it. So that's where I'm at now, man. True Kings movement, and it's going fucking great so far. So many guys are coming forward in that group, sharing their truth and just talking about the real life shit. So that's where I'm at now.
That's awesome, man. I think it's very important that, especially when you're dealing with business owners and other entrepreneurs, like that is a stressful funnel potentially to be in. And if you don't have an outlet to, just like relieve some of that stress, naturally it's going to turn into alcohol, drugs, and stuff of that nature. Naturally, just because it's accessible, it's right there. And if you have the money and the equity to get it, that's what even makes it more tempting. And what I really do appreciate about you is, how old are you now?
I'm 22 right now. Yeah.
You're 22 right now.
Yeah.
So, wow. I didn't know you were that young. So one of the biggest encouraging things that I see with this whole thing is you are 22 and you have lived the life of some of your partners. I mean, the fact that you're 22 and you've been through all this.
Yeah.
And to be on the other side, and now you have a heart to help people. So now you got rid of worrying about what other people think. You got rid of a lot of the struggles with addiction that you got rid of. Now you're still work in progress in certain regards, but just the fact that now you've been through all this, and now you can help another entrepreneur come up. And this is, I'm assuming this is all ages, of course.
Yeah. Of course.
And the fact that you're able to help all these people, it's just a great thing, because I have never heard of a group where there's an outlet for entrepreneurs who are struggling with addiction. Now, I've heard general addiction, organizations that help with that, but I've never heard something so niche. But it's something that's very much needed.
Yeah.
We always look at big corporations and CEOs and entrepreneurs, and we look at some of them like they're pariahs, like they're bad. You don't know what they go home to. You don't know what they're addicted to. You don't know what their life was like. You don't know the backstory as to what made them that person in the first place. So to sit back over here and to hear that there is finally something like this that's actually put in that regards to help people, it's a great thing. And it's something that, I would love to support.
Yeah, man. I would love to have you in there. It's really like, since I started meditating, I was able to get clear on like my soul's mission and more like my heart's desire. Like my heart is fully in this one, dude. And the interesting thing is like I've never had a Facebook group grow so quick, or I've never had so much engagement in a business like this, because it's so heartfelt, and like it's literally like a brotherhood in there, like guys coming forward, supporting each other. And it's not like as grindy, like whereas with my other business, I would have to go out there and be like, come check out me, like check out my shit, this.
You had to
like
sell yourself every
like,
5 minutes.
Yeah, exactly, dude. It's almost like people can feel this, that I'm like, this is in my heart, and that like I'm there to help. And it's almost like growing by itself. It's a completely different type of business than what I've done in the past. So it's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything, especially now with people, because now it's publicly, back before we were born, mental health and depression and anxiety was, you better not say nothing about it. I don't want to hear it. That's weak. We don't want to talk about it. That's what that old mentality was.
Right.
And due to that old mentality has cost people their livelihood, has cost people families, cost some people their whole life. And because we've had to see that bad example, now we're in a generation, now we're in a society where we are open to talk about those things. Everybody is struggling with something. Nobody's perfect. No matter what is in your bank account, I don't care if it's $2 or $2 million. Mm-hmm. Everybody's struggling. So it makes perfect sense to have outlets like this, where this needs to be talked about, because you never know who's struggling. Yes, on the surface, they may pull up in a Range Rover, they may have the nice fancy cars, they may have the good clothes, but they're going through hell mentally. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, Mason, the one thing that I'm glad that you're doing is, and you're being articulate about, look, this is my heart's calling to help people out and do this. And people sense that. That's why stuff has grown, especially now with social media and everybody being very consciously aware. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants some type of genuine connection, and they want it to be genuine. There's too much fake. I'm trying to sell you this. I'm trying to sell you that. We already surrounded by the negatives of American culture. We need more genuine outlets to relieve the stress, get some advice. We need that therapy. We need that soul food of just mental clarity, so that way we can become better human beings and also carry that on to somebody else. That's what life should be all about. And for you to take that charge at such a young age, for you to go through all that at such a young age and learn what you learned at just 22, some people it takes till age 30 or 40 to learn what you learn. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm really impressed with you, because you're learning that at such a young age. You've been through a lot at such a young age that now you're able to help a mass amount of people, regardless of what their background is, regardless of what their age group is, regardless of what their upbringing was like. You can kind of speak to all these different things and help people out figure out a different way, which I'm excited to see where this movement goes.
Thanks, man. That means a lot to me. I know this is gonna sound a bit weird, but I don't know if like how many, or you personally or any of your viewers are like spiritual, but I've always kind of been told, and this is not me trying to like flex or anything, but I've always kind of been told, or at least felt this deep down, that I'm an old soul. And I feel like, at least in this lifetime, for like who I am, Mason Pastro now, I feel like it was purposeful that the universe made me go through a lot of this pain early on, so that way I could awaken earlier on, so that way I have more time in my life to, like, I can only imagine if, like, as I start to learn how to heal people, like 10, 20 years from now, when I'm like 42 or something, I have 20 years experience of healing, how I'm going to be able to heal people as quickly as possible, you know? So it's just, yeah, man, it's just crazy. Like, I think in terms of age, it's just a number, but I think that the universe kind of purposely put me through this shits like a lot and very intensely in a short amount of time, purposefully, so I could learn those lessons quickly and like realize my true soul's mission. Like, it's just weird. I know that sounds like really deep, but like I really do feel like this is like it's really deep for me in the terms of like being my soul's mission, like my purpose for being on Earth, you know? So
Yeah,
it's just,
sometimes the universe. I mean, I'm a devout Christian, so sometimes I'd use the term God. Sometimes there are certain circumstances that you have to learn, that you have to go through, and that you have, when you're sitting there going through it, you're learning all these things, and then sure enough, you'll be put in a situation where that stuff that you experienced is used as your testimony to cause somebody to, find a better path, find a more positive path. You know what I'm saying? Because you've been through it. You know it's on the other side. You know how it feels. You know how it feels to be neglected. You know how it feels to be taken advantage of. You know how it feels to feel like you're alone. You're not worth it. Like you know what that feeling is like on a lower level. You're good now. You're better now. You're in a better position now. But you know what that's like to the point where now you can speak to it. So sometimes God, the universe, in your terms, will put you in that position so you can go through a test to be a testimony for somebody else. So, and sometimes that's one of those things. And somebody had a good philosophy, a buddy of mine saying, I'm either winning or I'm learning. There's certain seasons you're winning, and I'm not talking about on a financial level. I'm talking about just on a spiritual level, just on a mental level. There are times that you're winning, and there are times that there's seasons where you're going to end up be on a learning phase.
yeah.
And so it's either that. You can't, there's beauty in learning through any type of loss in certain aspects, because you're able to speak to what other people's problems can be and help them along the way. Because that, at the end of the day, everybody mentally is struggling with something. Everybody is very self-conscious about something. So, and everybody goes through a different thing. Some people are, very closed off and don't want nothing to do with people because of the experiences that they went through with other people back in the day.
Yeah.
So people got different quirks about them. So if we have more outlets like what you have with your True King movement, I think that's going to break a lot of the hang-ups that cause people to be in like this stagnant mindset, and they never progress. They don't know how to forgive and just move on. They don't know how to protect their peace. Like all of these different things, and then, you know what I'm saying? Like all these different things matter in order for somebody to get forward.
100%, dude. 100%. I love the way that you articulate things, man. I just gotta say, I appreciate you for that. Like, just listening to my story and the way that you kind of just summarize it and like take out the core points. Just that's powerful, dude. That's powerful.
Yeah, I
Like,
try to be
as a host. That's just, I don't know.
I try to be as attentive as possible when I have guests and I'm hearing them speak, because I'm learning. Because I always tell somebody, look, I'm learning from everybody. I don't care what your age group is, what your background is. I'm learning from everybody. So when anybody, young, old, in the middle, speaks, I just sit back and I listen, and I try to pull like nuggets from the experience that they're telling me, or whether they're in a conversation that's four of us talking or whatever. Like, I pull so much. I learn so much from several different people. Don't matter where they're at. Like, that's how I am. I'm like a sponge. I try to take, especially when it comes to life topics, relationships, dealing with drugs or addiction or depression or mental health or anything like that. I listen very attentively, because it's very important for me that I keep my mental health intact. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
these lessons that I'm learning, and I feel like God is putting some of these people around me for a reason. You know what I'm saying? Like us connecting and talking. This is the first time we've ever seen each other or talked with each other on a podcast form like this, and it's something the first time. And really, it ain't no casual. Hey, hello, how you doing? This is so like it. We literally talking about a heavy topic right off the bat.
Sure.
So, you know, some of these things, I'm a believer of. Some of these things don't happen by accident. You're put in certain situations because it's something that you need to learn in that particular moment. So that's just how I think.
Yeah, man, that's crazy that you mentioned that, because like I feel like if I didn't even do this today, I wouldn't actually like me actually going back and retelling the story. It's just kind of because right now, in terms of like, so I'll just be fully honest with everything. So with Entrecom, you know, the store design company, I pulled out all the money from that, and I was kind of floating, and I've dwindled that cash down to like where I have like 1 month's left of rent right now, like in my account, right? And I put all my heart into the True Kings movement, and I'm gonna be good, man. Like I'm not stressed about the money thing because I'm gonna monetize the group and whatnot. Like we're gonna get the guys the help they need, because my spiritual mentor who helped me with my addictions actually partnered up with me, which is fucking awesome. And we're pretty much gonna give them the same help he gave me, which is fucking awesome. But I think for me, like coming on here and telling my story kind of just reaffirms that at least the position I'm in right now financially, it just reaffirms like that I'm gonna be okay. Like after retelling the story to you and like recalling in my head all the times that I thought that like I was at rock bottom and wasn't gonna make it through and made it through. I'm just very grateful for this interview, brother, because of that like sole reason, because like recalling the story in my head kind of reminded me that like I can make it through anything because I've made it through so much shit, you know? So I'm just very grateful, man. I just want to say that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. Like when I saw your post and how we connected it was a Facebook group. It's like a guest connection Facebook group for podcast. And you put the post up and I said, you know what, I'm gonna reach out. Because something that I kind of like looked up research. Okay, he does entrepreneur thing. He has a story. In the back of my mind, it was like something was like, you're gonna want to hear his story out. And I'm glad, and I'm especially glad, and I'm honored to, and I'm humbled to have you on, because there are a lot of young entrepreneurs out there that are just starting out at your age, or they've been doing it for a couple years. So, on this show, every once in a while, I should say more frequently now, I put these motivational pieces out. I put these just talking about life pieces out, outside of us talking about pop culture topics, because it's very important to me that we educate the generations that are coming up after us.
Yeah.
And having that conversation and really taking that time to understand where they're coming from, and also guiding them as to what to watch out for. Because when I was coming up, they was calling us lost generation. Like, that's wild. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even doing anything, and y'all calling me lost generation? You know, so instead of, you know, bashing our younger generations to hell, let's lift them up first. You know what I mean? Let's have that conversation. Let's understand where they're coming from, because it was a different time for these kids coming up now than when the 90s kids were kids. You know what I'm saying? So, or when the 2000s kids were kids. You know what I'm saying? It's a little bit different now. You know, now you got people that were born, 10 years ago. You know what I'm saying? So it's like we gotta look out for that generation too. So it's just one of them situations. I always try to sprinkle in content that helps people not only, get through their day, get a laugh, but also I want to make sure that, they know that, hey, like, we care. We want to see you do better. This is the point. This is why I always try to sprinkle in a guest that can give motivational nuggets, but also use their story to inspire others to find a different path, to go after whatever they want to go after, because it's easy to waste your life being caught up in, oh, I have to appease this one particular person. You know what I mean? So I'm just honored and I'm glad to have you on, man. I appreciate you coming into Audio Airstrike, man, and really telling your story, telling your truth, and hopefully this will help out a lot of people.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. If it's cool with you, I'd like to post this interview on my YouTube channel.
Absolutely,
That's
man.
cool.
Absolutely. It's gonna be on the Audio Airstrike YouTube as well. We can post it on both. It don't matter to me. It's totally fine.
Hell yeah. Sweet. I guess I just want to summarize this point of my story that you actually helped me get clarity on too. And I'm glad you brought up like being a voice for the younger generation, because that really hits home with me, man. So I guess like the summary for anyone listening to this, like the summary of this story, and the point that you probably that I really want to drive home is like take time to really understand you and what you want. And I highly recommend meditation because it's great for this, because it's that inner deep work. But take time to realize what you really want to do, not what your parents want you to do, not what your friends want you to do, not what you think is going to look cool so you can flex on social media, none of that shit, not what you think is going to make the most money. Take time to get to know you, spend more time alone, get to know like you and like what resonates with your heart and your soul's desire, and like figure out like what the fuck you want to do, and then build a business around that. That's what I say. Anyone who's like an entrepreneur aspiring to do any of this, or even if you're not an entrepreneur, whatever like you're looking to do with your life and like your purpose, if you're struggling, because we've all like struggled to think like what should I do? What's my purpose? Especially if you're like just about to graduate high school. I remember that was the most stressful time for me. Is just listen, dude. The more and more I listen to my instincts and to like my gut feeling and my feelings, the easier life gets. Because it's almost like my higher self, or like my connection to God or the universe, whatever you want to call it, like knows the answers already. But and when I listen to that, life is easy. When I listen to my head and like what my ego wants for the validation from other people, then life gets difficult. Then it becomes like a grind. It becomes like it's just a different space. So I'd say anyone listening to this, just take time to understand what your heart wants, and like really like get to know who you are, not your ego. And because the ego wants to like be flashy and flex and like make a shit ton of money and like be famous and all of this. The soul wants something deeper than that, a lot deeper. And I feel like the most successful people have figured out what their soul's mission are. And just because it's more natural, people think that like it's a huge grind, I feel like, but it's actually like more of like a flow. When you like figure out your soul's mission, align with that shit. It's like I said, like with the new business I started, True Kings, it's been growing so quickly and easily, organically, with almost like minimal effort, that it's crazy to me, because I've built several other businesses that were way harder to get off the ground, and this one is just like flowing. So I just want to drive that point home, man. But yeah,
absolutely, man. When it's your calling, stuff gets much easier and calmer. When it's your calling, it's just everything just follows more through with ease because it's genuine. So, where can they find information on yourself and the True Kings movement before we close?
Yeah. So for Facebook, you're just going to want to go to groups.facebook.com/men who are true kings. I believe that's the link. You guys can also find me on Facebook. It's just Mason Pastro. So that's Mason Pastro, Pastro. I got a YouTube channel as well. I don't really upload there, although I'm probably going to upload this because it's the first time I've shared my entire story on my YouTube channels. But the main thing, if you're struggling with addiction, depression, I don't care if you're an entrepreneur or not, but it is just for men specifically. And the reason I did that is because men in society are taught to not speak up about this type of shit because you'll be seen as weak. So I want to create a safe space for men specifically. So it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or not. If you're going through rough shit like addiction, depression, anxiety, and you feel like you have no one to talk to and you're lonely, go to groups.facebook.com/men who are true kings.
Absolutely, man. Mason, thank you so much for coming on. We definitely appreciate you taking this time out to tell your truth. And I would like to have you back on to talk about some other entrepreneurial topics and also life topics as well. So you're more than welcome to come back.
Yes, man. I would love to come back. This has been probably the best interview I've ever had. So, and I'm not just saying that to blow smoke up your ass, bro. Seriously.
Oh, no, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I appreciate it, dude. I try. Lord knows I try my best. There'd be times I beat myself up. I'd be like, oh, I don't know if that was that good. Then I'd have somebody like give me feedback. It's like, oh my God, it was great. I was like, it was? All right, cool.
Yeah, man. I think this episode has been. I'm gonna have to check out some of your other episodes, but I think this one and the way you've been able to summarize it has just been fucking on point, brother. So I'm very grateful for the opportunity, man, to come on. So thank you for that.
Absolutely, man. And you're always welcome back, man. Appreciate it, man. Definitely.
Hell yeah.
This has been another edition of Audio Airstrike. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes. Also, we post up our full videos on YouTube as well. We also got clips on Instagram. If you guys want smaller nuggets of content, we post up there as well. Until next time, everybody, y'all take care. We got another episode coming after this. See ya.